It's nice, you know, just the.
Yeah, you made it.
Thanks for the email, Barry.
Yeah, sure thing.
And they change the zoning, can't do drive-through, can't do automotive, can't do gas stations, and it's craziness. Yeah, play by the rules, they just gotta put the rules.
I'm trying to take care of this PUD fencing note that's been hanging out there. This HOA wants us to help. And like having a board meeting as president. We've been talking about our just the language for the fencing. Oh, well, I reported that.
So what we need to do now is someone needs to plat that. Because it was supposed to be the city who plat that before we did it. And it's already past time to put it over. So I don't know, do you need to have a call with you and a planner or two and public works?
So we're handling another one that's a city initiated annexation. And so engineering has or public works has protocols and so all of us. You know exactly. And work order with we have to pay. But if we have to contract with rockstar, we just have to figure out who's going to pay. Oh, city.
I mean, yeah, the city.
Oh, yeah.
Like the city had already worked out this deal
Yeah,
with
yeah.
Franco, and so, yeah.
Yeah, and it never got told.
So it was our responsibility to plat, subdivide it, and the deed has been prepared, it's sitting with an escrow agent. So obviously we're going to release it. It's not
yeah, let me talk to Mike about it to make sure he's comfortable. I don't see why.
Just tell me just far enough to try to work
Like
with.
the city initiative.
I just don't want to send a bunch of documents to a bunch of random people. So once you tell me who to work with, then I can send over
Yeah.
get the deed from the escrow agent.
Okay, I'll assign it.
Don't we all? I actually thought it was 6
Okay.
I'll share more.
Okay.
I mean, who knows? I need to. I told the escrow agent to ask you guys.
Okay.
But really, there's already a little description. What is interesting is
Well, a surveyor will have to look at what, has it ever been platted? Has it never been platted? Are we taking a plat and amending it? Or are we platting it from scratch? That's probably not. Okay.
I mean, just every.
And then they have to survey. So they should draw them up.
Andy County.
These
guys do all the cuts.
So it's more expensive if it's never been platted.
I just feel like the state's not hired.
You built this design. You know that yellow statue?
I don't know where the bridge is located in there. I have no knowledge of whether it's like
Seems like it must be. Yeah, I don't need that.
But I can get those answers to whomever is on it.
Okay.
As best I can.
Okay.
Always costs me too much, but it always ends up not in my head.
She might not. I know.
She's so involved. Just like
Like, you don't
No,
yeah, but just the whole even for teachers, it's like, oh, no, I still have to show up. I guess you can do so you're the one that walk, like, come close to the
Yeah. And I'm doing the DEP leadership program.
She was, I think she was either the president or the board chair for California. Yeah. I mean, I just hope they figure out downtown Denver.
How are you? Yeah. Are you Sharon's?
Yes. Did you guys get
This is, yeah, that is everyone. Ours is
Who do you feel put on the spot?
Put on the spot, thank you.
Chair and Bradley, we're about to.
Yeah, we're good to go.
So we have to do a motion about
Yeah.
Hi. To the spot.
I think the next thing that's coming is to approve the agenda, right? A motion to approve the agenda. Yeah, that's what I was hearing from, Karen today. So I'll check. Double check. They had a bunch of training.
take that motion on the agenda.
Oh, really?
Maybe I wasn't.
Oh, you
that
did,
part.
okay, great.
Yeah, well, Kim and Steve did part of it, and we did
Okay.
part of it. Yeah. The one with liaisons and the one here.
Yeah, I don't know about that. It's a,
So I think we would start, or I've been ready to see maybe start with like some more regular training for liaisons just a little bit,
Yeah.
especially while we're switching stuff up.
I don't know. Are we ready to go? Frank, are we ready to go?
okay. We need to figure out what's going on. Okay, yes. Let me do some digging for you. Yes, that would be best. I was gonna ask specific.
Good evening. It is now 6:10. We will go ahead and get started this evening. When you are speaking, please be sure to unmute your microphone to be heard on the broadcast. The public who did not register in advance can watch the live broadcast on the city's YouTube channel. For live Spanish translation services, please dial 720-386-9023 and use code 104091 *. Commissioner Sanchez,
Present.
Commissioner Van Husen,
Present.
Commissioner Biltoff, Commissioner Schechter,
Present.
Commissioner Eggleston.
Present.
Chair, you have quorum.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So moved. Second.
Chair, we had a point of order we wanted to make you all aware of. We had the February, the January meeting minutes stated as 2025 and not 2026. So staff would recommend a continuance.
So moved.
Second.
Eagles.
Z25-0005, City of Commerce City is requesting approval of a zone change from AG Agricultural to P Public for the 4.58 acre property located at 13701 East 104th Avenue. There we go. So before you this evening is one of the first zoning cases into the 2025 Land Development Code. So you'll see a few changes throughout. One of the first here thing is it's called the zoning map amendment in the new code. So I'll try to catch myself if I call it a zone change. But and then you'll see the new approval criteria is at the end and was included into your staff report for you. So we'll kind of piece that apart as we get to it. But yeah, this evening we're talking about the Potomac Police Station located off 104th and Potomac. Here's an aerial of the site with the streets labeled here. Some of you may not be aware where my mouse is. East 104th Way is the street that's on the north side here. And so that'll be referenced in the presentation. Otherwise, it's located at the northeast corner of East 104th Avenue and Potomac. Summary again, the thing I wanted to point out on this slide here is that there's no other applications currently on file with the city, but there will be more to come. The development plan and the plat that'll provide more details about what the site will look like and function. So for now, the topic of discussion is the zone change or the zoning map amendment. A look at the zoning as it currently exists. So you'll have Potomac Farms PUD is to the west. To the south is the Commons 104th PUD. Amendment was heard by this commission about a year ago. Reunion PUD is diagonal, and then Potomac Farms PUD actually wraps around the site. And then there's an agricultural site to the east, which is not a part of this request. Some site history to give you some background. So the site was previously a family farm. Based upon researching ADCO records and historic aerials, I was unable to pinpoint the exact date of construction for that home. It was, as far as I can tell, sometime prior to 1950. As far as how the site operated, it was used for farming up until the 1970s. Incorporated in the city in 1990s. Agricultural zoning is kind of used as a default zoning when the development future is kind of unknown for properties as they're annexed. So agricultural zoning was applied at that time. And then the city purchased the property in 2023 with the intent of developing a substation at this location. And in that same year, 2023, the home was demolished. So the site currently sits vacant. Here's some images of the site. So as you see, it kind of has been scraped or removal of any home remnants, I guess. So you'll see on the top image is the view from East 104th Avenue facing north, correction on the slide there, facing north towards the homes. And then the second image is the view from Potomac Street facing east towards the homes that would be to the rear of the site. Some analysis of the zoning map amendment. So as I mentioned, there's residential to the north and east, commercial properties to the west and south. The south is currently undeveloped, is in that Commons on 104th PUD. The road network impact, so there's some things that we know at this time that will come with the plat and development plan. So there'll be a right turn pocket or right turning lane for those traveling on 104th Avenue wanting to turn north onto Potomac. They'll be installed with this development. Potomac Street is currently one lane on that northbound side, and so it'll be expanded. And then the East 104th Way on the north side of the property will be expanded from a one-way to a two-way. That's what we know right now. More details will come as we get those other applications. So some justification for why this is needed. So in 2010, when the lease was signed for the existing substation that's in the Reunion PUD further east towards a tower, there was 85 officers. Presently, there's 136. So you can see there's been a large increase with staffing for police. And so obviously there needs to be space for all those employees. And then for some reference too, we provided the census data to kind of show how as the police force is growing in a response to the growing population of Commerce City. So you can see there the growth from 2010 to 2020, approximately 20,000-ish people. And then some further growth since the census data was available in 2020, approximately 65,000 or so, based on estimates. Just for some comparison for what other cities do for their substations. So currently Commerce City has the one located here in the Civic Center. Arvada has 4, Denver has 9, and Aurora also has 4 substations. Those populations are larger than Commerce City, but the way that they go about serving their communities is a little bit different. Like obviously we have the Rocky Mountain Arsenal. That's sort of a natural land barrier and makes, like if you were, for reference, to take the substation map of Arvada, it would fit within the Arsenal. So there's some challenges that are presented by the Arsenal. And then also wanted to point out, South Adams County Fire has 10 different fire stations. Obviously their mission is a little bit different and their response times are a little bit different, but there's 10 compared to the 1 police station. This is a conceptual rendering of what the building might look like. At the direction of City Council, we are incorporating some public art into the design of the building, so you can kind of see that blue and red square there, showing some conceptual placement for public art. Getting into the comp plan now. So within the comp plan, it's within the northern neighborhoods, which allows the development of public facilities. Generally speaking, there's not a pinpoint location that the comp plan recommends for a comp plan, or excuse me, for a police substation. So we have to lean kind of more on the goals and objectives of the comp plan. So these were the same analysis that was provided for you in your staff report. I'll kind of hit high notes. Like character area goal 2.2, recognize Commerce City's population will continue to increase and positively foster the city's continued growth. So part of that is having a strong police force to be able to serve that growth. And then character area goal 5, integrate new public gathering spaces and activity centers into the city's future development at key locations throughout the city. As a part of this development, not only is there public art incorporated, but there's some community spaces anticipated to be included into that floor plan for use by the general population at that for the police station. Jumping forward here, I wanted to highlight the public facilities and infrastructure. So it talks about goal 2, maintaining high quality public safety, and then goal 2.1, supporting an effective and efficient police department. As major goals that support this, the zoning map amendment application before you tonight, in addition to the recommendation within the public facilities infrastructure chapter of the comp plan, which talks about locating a police center in the North Range of Commerce City. For public input, there was a neighborhood meeting held on January 14th at the Bison Ridge Recreation Center. There were 22 members of the public in attendance. There's a summary provided for you in your packet, which goes into the specifics of what questions were asked and the answers that were provided. But generally, the questions could fall in kind of one of 4 categories: site and building design, future engagement opportunities with the project details as far as the history and next steps, and then the police operations within the city. As of February 3rd, this evening, staff has received no written public comment other than the questions asked at that neighborhood meeting. Okay, so here's the new approval criteria. So there's, and this was mentioned at the adoption of the 25 code, but there's 2 sections of code that will be referenced here. So there's the section 7220C, which is the approval or the specific review criteria for zone changes, and then section 217140, which is the common review procedures. So we'll start with the specific review criteria for zone changes. So criterion 1 is not applicable. Criterion 2 is just the heading which you have to meet all of the following. So 2A, the range of allowed uses allowed by the amendment are compatible with the proposed development, surrounding land uses, and the natural environment. So the context of the neighborhood fits with how we've historically placed fire stations within the city, being abutting up to residential neighborhoods, but also adjacent to key corridors for transportation, right? So that they're adjacent to, or not adjacent, but have easy access to the north to I-76 and easy access on the east-west road of 104th as a major arterial. So criterion 2B, the proposed amendment will have, or future development can provide, efficient and adequate provisions of public services and uses. So the public substation is considered a public use by the 2025 Land Development Code and the 2009 Code, but they're able to use the existing facilities within East 104th Avenue and Potomac to connect to for utilities. In addition, as I mentioned, the public art and the community spaces that are anticipated to be included with the development will help satisfy criterion 2B. For 2C, there is a community need for the zoning district in the proposed location, given the need to provide and maintain a proper mix of uses, both within the city and the immediate area. Kind of mentioned the growing population of Commerce City and how the growth of the police force has been in response to that. And so this development is kind of satisfying that need and providing a good mix of uses and helping to provide for a better growth potential for the city moving forward. Some of the things mentioned or anticipated with this would be improved response times and better service to the community, better public engagement, things like that. So moving forward into the common review criteria, so the request compliance with the applicable standards of this code. and any applicable county, state, and federal requirements. So generally what you see up there is the list of agencies that have reviewed this project, all of whom are checking for compliance with county, state, and federal requirements. And so I'll spare you reading all of the names there, but through the review process, it was determined that this zoning map amendment will not violate any state, federal, or local laws. So therefore, this criterion can be met. Moving on to the next one here, the request substantially conforms to the associated prior approval for the development, including but not limited to a PUD zone document, conditional use permit, or an overall development plan. So as mentioned, the agricultural zoning was assigned in 1990. And so this zone change, or this zoning map amendment, is actually establishing a new set of approvals which future development will have to comply to. So therefore, this criterion can be met. Next one here, the request is consistent with the applicable policies of the comprehensive plan and the applicable sub-area plans, capital improvement plans, or if it addresses a topic that is not contained or fully developed in the comprehensive plan, the request does not impair the development of the comprehensive plan. As mentioned, I listed off a few goals that it's in conformance with, and those were provided to you in your staff report and in this presentation if we want to go back to them, but we can say that that criterion is met. Next one here, the request promotes the purposes of the LDC as established in section 21-1120, the purpose section of the Land Development Code, and in other applicable purpose statements in this LDC. So in summary of section 21-1120, it's about protecting public health and safety and general welfare of the citizens, unified development, all of that. So the two that this one is kind of hitting on is to protect public health and safety through the development of a substation, and the welfare portion, right, with the improved safety. And then there's the topic about improve the city's appearance. So the installation of a new building with public art feature will help create the improved appearance for the city. I think there's two more here, maybe a third. The adequate facilities, including public, private utilities, solid waste service, roads, drainage, and other improvements are present or planned to be provided by either the city or the applicant. This one's kind of similar to the one that was mentioned earlier about being able to connect to utilities that exists within 104th and Potomac. But additionally, we wanted to add that the property is already included into South Adams County Water and Sanitation Districts, Fire Protection Districts, and so therefore there are services that exist for the property that will not have to be burdened by this development. The request demonstrates compatibility with the surrounding conforming and permitted land uses and structures and the general character of the area. So a police substation is allowed use by right in the P zone or the public zone district. The overall project fits within the neighborhood context, like I said, mentioned about the way we've placed fire stations historically. And then additionally, the access to those major regional connections that this site allows. Okay, last one. The request will not impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of surrounding properties. And so in summary, it will not impede normal development or the improvement of that adjacent, like agricultural property to the east in the future. So therefore, all approval criteria have been met. Some things to keep in mind as a part of your discussion tonight. So the zoning map amendment is complementary to the comprehensive plan and the surrounding uses. The zoning map amendment allows the site to develop as a police station to support the needs of the community, and it meets all the approval criteria. Therefore, staff is recommending approval for Z25-005. Staff is available for questions.
Yeah, I was wondering, what is a police substation exactly versus a police station? Does that mean something?
It talks about the services that are provided, meaning that it's a subordinate of. So like the police chief will be housed, continue to be housed here at the Civic Center. A majority of the administrative staff will be housed here at the Civic Center. It's more of a substation, like a touch point, touchdown point, excuse me, for like the officers serving the Northern Range to come to process and do their paperwork and that sort of thing.
And so like I guess, and when I see like a police substation, like in like a strip mall, is that also like a substation, like a real tiny little thing, like at 104th and Tower?
Yeah, that was the one that I mentioned about the lease being signed. They recently signed a lease also for the Turnberry Marketplace area. So the purpose of this would be terminating those leases to allow for commercial development to occur in those commercial areas, and then located them in one spot.
And so like, do substations like this, do they have like a sally port, detention cells, that kind of thing, or?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Like, do they actually have a jail there, or are people taken to the county sheriff?
Yeah, so the jail is in Brighton, and so currently, if somebody's detained in the North Range, they have to be brought back to the Civic Center, and then transported up to Brighton. So having a location in the north area or part of the city, they can go from that area up to Brighton and then back a lot quicker.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
No, Chair.
Yeah, I attended the public meeting at Bison Ridge, and I appreciate that that was made available to the public. And I think I heard the police chief say, although there's not a jail there, there are holding cells. You need to have holding cells to hold people prior to transportation. So I just thought I'd add that. And then I think the format was pretty good, with the exception, everything broke out into groups to talk to the police chief and different folks. But I think there needs to be a session either right before the breakout or right after, where people can ask general questions that everybody can hear. Because I think there were some people there that wanted to do that, and staff stayed true to format and did not allow that, and went into the breakout sessions. So that's just my comment on because I attended that meeting.
I move that the Planning Commission enter a finding that the requested P Public Zoning District zoning for the property located at 13701 East 104th Avenue, contained in the case Z25-0005, meets the criteria of the Land Development Code, and based on such finding, recommend approval of the P Public Zoning District zoning.
I second. I do second.
V25-003, Revesco Properties is requesting to vacate a portion of inactive right-of-way Peoria Street, which was approximately 583.91 feet in length, extending south from East 104th Avenue towards the XL power lines. Here this evening from Revesco Properties is Evan Curtis.
Oh, there we go. Hello, commissioners. Thanks for having me tonight. Yeah, I'm here representing Revesco Properties. Oh, sure. 3219 Stewart Street in Denver, Colorado, 80212. Yes. Yeah, like I said, thanks for having me, commissioners. Representing Revesco Properties. We have a plot of land at 104th and Highway 2, southeast corner. And through it, heading north-south, is the Peoria Street right-of-way, and we're requesting that vacation as the right-of-way. Vacation will pave way for future development in line with the city's comp plan and our zoned PUD.
All right, so Peoria Street vacation before you this evening contained in case V25-003. So here's an aerial of the site. So as I mentioned, 104th Avenue, Highway 2, and then Peoria Parkway is further here to the east. The blue shape you see is the portion of Peoria Street that's being requested to be vacated. For some context about the area, so like I said, the blue shape still is that portion of Peoria Street. The red boxes there is the remaining portions of Peoria Street. So you can kind of see it's segmented currently. A good chunk of Peoria Street was vacated with the development of these Turnberry Filing 5, these homes here. And then portion was rededicated to service the homes. The reason it looks like this is that Peoria Parkway will come in and connect to this Peoria Street here. So the portion north of this Turnberry Filing 5 is kind of the subject of tonight's request. For reference of the zoning, so it's Turnberry, within the Turnberry PUD, which was provided to you in your packet. And then the Turnberry PUD is also across the street and, as mentioned, kind of south of this green XL power lines that you see here. Across the street, across Highway 2 is C3 zoning, and then diagonal is the Aberdeen PUD, which would currently allows for commercial uses at this corner here. There are no other current cases currently under review with staff, save the subdivision plat that will be referenced here within this presentation. It was included for you into your packet. Some analysis of the vacation. So currently the portion of Peoria Street which is proposed to be vacated is unimproved and inactive right-of-way. There's an access easement coming off of 104th that already exists to service the property. And as far as the transportation master plan, Peoria Street in this location is not included into that master plan because of the development of Peoria Parkway. As mentioned, a portion of Peoria Street has already been vacated. And additionally, I wanted to mention, and I'll go back to the aerial so you can see this, but currently where Peoria Street comes into 104th is the acceleration lane for this right turn coming off of Highway 2. And because of the separation standards that the city has, there could be no intersection here. Right turn only or otherwise. Like I said, a connection to 104th would not be approved here because of the proximity to this existing intersection. So therefore, where this is located, the city has no need for it and could not be developed by city standards. So here's that subdivision plat as mentioned. So here's the existing conditions. So here's the access easement coming off 104th. And then Peoria Street here. Future conditions, you'll have the access easement that will service the property. And then these dashed lines here, you see here are easements for South Adams County Water for their sewer line that they have that was located under Peoria Street, but will need to be protected by a future easement. So that'll be kind of the future condition of the property. As of today, there's been no public comment received, written or verbal. And then we'll kind of hit the approval criteria here. So criterion 1, and this, for reference, this is based out of the 2009 Land Development Code, as this property has not been rezoned into the 2025 code. So using the 09 criteria, the vacation is consistent with the comprehensive plan. Like I said, based on Commerce and Employment Goal 6.2, which is talks about encouraging the development of new centers. So the vacation of this request will allow for the development of the property. Additionally, the other plans that may be applicable here, the city recently adopted a new transportation plan, and it does not include this section of Peoria Street in that future road network. Criterion 2. The land to be vacated is no longer necessary for public use. It's currently not being used as a public road, and a portion of the Peoria Street to the south has already been vacated, so it doesn't connect to any other parts of the city, so it only would service this property, and so therefore it's no longer needed for the public use. Criterion 3. The vacation will not create any landlocked properties. As mentioned, the existing access easement is there to service the property, so therefore no properties will be made landlocked by this vacation. Criterion 4, the vacation will not render access to any parcel unreasonably or economically prohibitive. Kind of going back to that part that it's inactive, it doesn't connect anywhere, and so therefore it's not, the vacation is not creating those conditions. Criterion 5, the vacation will not reduce the quality of public services to any parcel of land. I talked about the South Adams water easement that will need to be established to protect that main line, and that's needed for other properties. So the vacation itself is not impacting public services because there's that replacement with an easement. And then criterion 6, a separate plat to replat the vacated area into a larger usable piece of land has been submitted. That was included for you into your packet. The case number for reference is S25-0025, which is currently under review by the city, and it will await the decision on the vacation before proceeding. Some considerations for your discussion. So the vacation would allow for development of the property. Peoria Street is not developable, as mentioned, per city standards. And it provides no connections to other properties because of a portion of Peoria Street has already been vacated. And because it meets all approval criteria, staff is recommending approval of V25-003.
Thank you. With no public comments, can you tell me about the notifications to the nearby stakeholders?
Yeah, so the stakeholders on site, as far as like South Adams Water, Excel, United Power, and other service providers that are in the area, Comcast, CenturyLink, they're a part of our referral process. So they would be most impacted by the vacation, and so they were sent notification of this application, some of whom chose to respond, like South Adams Water. Some have chosen not to respond because they have no conflicts with the vacation and can relocate services or have other means. As far as the neighborhood, the Land Development Code requires notice to 500 or to 300 feet, property owners within 300 feet of the property. We sent notification to property owners within 500 feet of the property through mailing of a flyer. The code also requires posting of a sign on the property, which was posted in accordance with, I think it was 13 or 14 days prior to the meeting. I could check on that if that's of interest to the commission. And then the last piece that the code requires is publication in a newspaper. So this was published in a newspaper that's circulated in Commerce City. So it meets the minimum requirements of the Land Development Code, if that answers your question.
Thank you, it does.
No, Chair.
I would like to make a motion. I move that the Planning Commission enter a finding that the requested vacation of right-of-way contained in case V25-0003 meets the criteria of the Land Development Code, and based upon such finding, approve the vacation of right-of-way.
Second.
Uh, 4580 East 60th LLC is requesting approval of a zone change from C3 Regional Commercial to I2 Medium Intensity Industrial for the 1.53 acre property located at 4850 East 60th Avenue. Here this evening from 4580 East 60th LLC is Ryan Barker.
Thank you, Mr. Barry. My name is Ryan Barker. My residence is 17 Niblick Lane, Littleton, Colorado, 80123. I've been instructed not to go over an hour, so I'll try to do that. As you can see, there's an aerial view of 4850 East 60th Avenue. The owner of that is 4580 East 60th Avenue LLC. When setting up your LLC, try not to transpose your numbers, but that's kind of what happened there. So that's why it is what it is. And so that right there is right off of 60th Avenue, is just to the north, right there, and Vasquez is just to the east. Through this presentation, we'll do a little bit of a history of Colorado Scaffolding, which owns the property next door, and we are also owners of Colorado Scaffolding as well, also called C&D Energy Services. We'll go over the recent growth of the company, and then we'll get into a little bit of the evaluation of city codes and standards, which Nick will be way more adept at that than I will be, but I'll give a couple of comments there. Colorado Scaffolding was originally founded in 1978 by a gentleman named Ron Ammerman, and it's operated in Commerce City since its inception. So it's been around for almost 40 years. In 2016, C&D Energy Services purchased Colorado Scaffolding from the Ammerman family. So Mark Wood, who's sitting right back here, is my partner, and he and I bought a company called C&D Insulation in 2014. And it was going pretty well, and we decided that we wanted to grow, and so we decided to get into industrial insulation, mechanical insulation. And in order to do that, when I'm calling up my lawyer to let him know that we need to form a new company and that we needed to provide scaffolding, he goes, well, you want to buy a scaffolding company? And I said, well, do you know one? And he said, yeah, I do. And it turned out to be Colorado Scaffolding. And so for nearly 40 years before we purchased it, Colorado Scaffolding was mainly serviced the masonry business, providing scaffold rentals and sales, and it did about $2 to $3 million a year in revenue and employed 20 to 25 people. So if you're out and about and you see scaffolding, sometimes you see the either red or yellow scaffolding with some wooden plank on it, and that's kind of for masons and smaller scale type of things. You don't want those scaffoldings to go up 10 or 20 stories because they're kind of unsafe. And we wanted to get into industrial scaffolding. And so that is more of the stainless steel type of stuff. And so every once in a while also you'll see the big stainless steel scaffolding with steel plank around huge high rises and stuff. And that's probably our scaffolding, to be honest with you. But so in 2016, we purchased Colorado Scaffolding with the intent of growing it and getting into more erection and dismantle of large-scale projects, as well as keeping the retail side of the business that they had cultivated over 30 years. And the first big job that we got was the Gaylord project out by the airport here. And so we scaffolded that, wrapped that entire thing. We bought 60 truckloads of scaffolding to wrap that entire thing. And that was kind of the catalyst that got us in the game, so to speak. And so since then, we've done the Zuni power plant. We do a lot of work for Basin Electric for their power plants, which are in Wyoming, North and South Dakota. Pacificor power plants up in Wyoming, we do a lot of work for. We just got into Excel. One of our high-profile projects is the Cadet Cathedral down at the Air Force Base that they're redoing. That's all of our scaffold down there. And so we've grown quite a bit. And growth requires more space to operate our business. And since we've purchased Colorado Scaffolding, we've purchased over 120 truckloads of equipment, well over that. And we're also into swing stages, and have purchased $3 to $4 million worth of swing stage material as well. And so, we need more space, and this for our employees and for customers. So the lot next door to us which is the lot that we're talking about here, is 4850 East 60th Avenue. And the opportunity arose for us to purchase that lot in 2021. Here's a little bit of a chart of our growth and revenue. You can see when we purchased, the year before we purchased the company, it did about $2.5 million in business. In 2016, our first year, we went from 2.5 to 10 million. 2021 came around and we did 17 million. And now we're looking at, last year was 27 and this year the budget is 31 million. You see a big jump there from 2021 to 2025, and that's because a private equity from Houston made a very large investment into our company and has put a bunch of money into a company for us to purchase more equipment and to grow even further. Our employee growth kind of mirrors that. If you look there, we were 20 to 25 in 2015, up to 75 that first year that we owned the company. between 100 and 150 when the private equity came along. And now, I honestly think our high water mark is probably around 300, to be honest. But our average is probably about 175 employees now. Now, most of them don't work at our facility there in Commerce City, but a lot of them do. We probably have 50 or so people that come into Commerce City every day as part of employees, on top of another 30 to 40 customers throughout the day. So a little timeline here. Again, in 78, Mr. Ammerman started the company. We purchased it in 2016. 2016, we also purchased the property where Colorado Scaffolding operates, which is 4540 East 60th Avenue. 2021, we purchased the lot next door. And that's the same year that the private equity made the investment into the company. And then now brings us to 2025. At the end of last year, we applied for the zone change to that property next door, 4850 East 60th Avenue. So the land acquisition has had some challenges. The purchase was closed on June 30th of 2021. And we intended to use the lot to satisfy our needs for more space, and for rapid growth. However, 3 months after the purchase, we were confronted with a CDOT dilemma that we're happy to talk more about, but we really don't know what's going to happen with it, and it could be that frankly quite nothing happens with it. CDOT is kind of widening the intersection there at 60th and Vasquez to just try to make for better traffic flow, basically. And because of that accelerated growth in the last 4 years, we have no option and can no longer wait for the CDOT project to be finalized. If they do take any of the land, it'll be a small portion, and we can still use that land for what we're trying to satisfy our purposes. We desperately need to use this land to support our growing business, and so our customers and employees can park safely, not to mention be able to store more material. Hopefully we don't store any material because it's all up out on projects, but that's quite logistically impossible. Trying to make a case here, that property has not been used. It's been sitting vacant for 50 years, generating zero revenue or benefit for Commerce City, its residents, or those employed within the city limits. We are requesting a zone change from C3 to I2, and we need the city support to grow our business for employees and customer parking, as we've talked about, as we employ an annualized average of 175 people. Many of those reside in Commerce City. The land to the west of us, the north of us, and the south of us are all I3. 4850 falls between all of these I3 properties and a couple of C3 properties that are along Vasquez there. And so I2 would make a nice transition from the heavier industrial I3 into the commercial. We're not asking for I3. We don't need it for I3, but I2 is a nice compromise for us, and we hope for the city. The zone change will allow our business to grow even further, generating more tax revenue for the city, while also allowing our employees or allow us to employ more people, which will also benefit commercial businesses in the area. And then upon approval, if we were to be approved, we would make a significant capital investment in the property to include grading, paving, lighting, fencing, whatever the city would require us to do. There's an aerial view of both our current location where we operate is C&D Energy Services, Colorado Scaffolding, which is zoned I3, and then the lot next door, which is currently C3, which we're trying to get zoned to I2. You can see they're right next door with only a fence kind of separating the two. a reason, I would never purport to, try to tell the city what its reasoning or perspective should be. However, with some help from some people that know more than I do, was able to glean some information from the 2045 comp plan, Commerce City comp plan, that advances our case a little bit. This is from page 122 of the city's 2045 comp plan. You can see where the arrow points is where the lot is, and you can see there that that is all the 270 industrial district. And our property there, 4850, is right in the heart of that industrial district. And a zone change would fulfill the city's economic development framework. According to the plan, primary uses for the 270 industrial district include employment, check, industrial, check, and warehousing and distribution, check, check. So, another slide here is from page 63 of the comp plan. You can see their goal 4 is to reinvest in the city's existing businesses, of which we are and have been for nearly 40 years, or over 40 years, I guess. Nearly 40 years. More than 40 years, anyway. In fact, the sub-point 2 reads, incentivize certain site improvements for older industrial businesses, which we are, such as storage, parking, lot paving, or adaptive reuse, which is exactly what we want to use the lot for. From page 57 of the comprehensive plan, a zone change to I-2 would support all 4 principles of the city's core principles. The economic development framework states to use the findings from the ongoing environmental assessment to determine strategies to mitigate any adverse health or environmental impacts caused by the refinery and concentration of industrial uses. Ensure sufficient screening, buffering, and distance from lower intensity uses such as residential neighborhoods to reduce environmental impacts. So the storage and parking will not advance any aggravating environmental impacts, and the land is in the heart of the 270 industrial district, away from neighborhoods and other lower intensity uses. And then the reinvestment in existing commercial industrial areas in Chapter 7. We've already talked about where that it's in the industrial district. Recommendation number 1 is to work with business owners to upgrade facades, internal and perimeter parking lot landscaping, and screening of utility areas. And as we've talked about, the company would work with the city to achieve these goals. Within the same chapter, the plan discusses legacy industrial areas and states, in alignment with the 270 industrial district, the city should work to improve the character of its legacy industrial areas and support the long-term transition to new uses where appropriate. This is from section that we've seen. This is the 3rd time we've seen it tonight, section 21-232B. I'm not going to go over all these because Nick will do a much better job than I will. But I will say that the first one there, proposed zone district and allowed uses are consistent with the policies of the comprehensive plan, any applicable adopted area plan or community plan of the city. And the proposed zone district and number 2, the proposed zone district and allowed uses are compatible with proposed development, surrounding land use, and natural environment. And as we've talked about, most of the land to the west, north, and south are all designated I-3. This land, which falls between the I-3 properties and the C3 properties, would make for a nice transition if rezoned to I-2. Skipping down there to 4, the proposed zone district will have or future development can provide efficient and adequate provision of public uses, including but not limited to parks, schools, and open space. The increase in tax revenue from our growing business and permits because of zone change will benefit parks, schools, and open space. The property has been vacant for 50 years, generating almost zero revenue for the betterment of the city. In closing, C&D Energy, DBA Colorado Scaffolding operates in a legacy industrial area. A zone change would allow us to satisfy the city's long-term planner sooner than later. As we've talked about, the land to the northwest and south is already I-3. There are 2 lots to the east that are commercial where a Starbucks and Arby's operate. I-2 for this parcel is a natural transition from I-3 lots to the west to the commercial lots to its east. To sustain current levels and to continue to grow our business, we desperately need to use the adjacent lot, 4850, for the purposes of outdoor storage and employee and customer parking. By rezoning the proposed land, Commerce City would greatly benefit a large employer. Like I said, we employ, our high water marks around 300 employees, while bolstering its own vision for the future. That's all I have. Thanks.
Before you this evening is a zone change for in the 2009 code. Because of the date of application, that this application was able to move forward under the 2009 code. So I just wanted to provide that for clarity before we dive too deep into the presentation. So you'll see the approval criteria from the current 2009 code. Aerial of the site kind of zoomed out a little bit more than what the applicant's shown. So the property is outlined there in red. As mentioned, Colorado Scaffolding currently operates the property just to the west. And you can see kind of regionally, this is the Walmart Shopping Center, Eagle Point Rec Center, King Soopers Shopping Center kind of surround the property regionally. There are no other cases currently reviewed by the city. The only application that would be needed should this zone change be approved would be a development plan, which the applicant mentioned, which it would include surfacing, screening, lighting, that sort of thing. And that is an administrative application. As mentioned, so the zoning map as it currently exists, so the property outlined there in red in the hatching is Zone C3, surrounded by I-3 properties to the north, west, and south. And then the C3 properties to the east are the Starbucks and the Arby's. So for some site history, the site was zoned I-3 as a part of the city's first zoning map in 1964. And then in 1998, the property was zoned, or zone change was processed to go from I-3 to C3 to support the development of the Arby's and a Taco Star, which has now been renovated to be the Starbucks. And so the only development for this particular property has been the detention ponds, which service those aforementioned restaurants. And so that's currently all that's happened on the site. So from analysis of the zone change, as mentioned, I-3 zoning surrounds the site except for the commercial property to the east. All properties in the area were developed between 1975 and 2000. This is included just to say typically what we see is as services come online, like utilities, areas kind of develop within a 10, 15, 20-year period within each other. So it's kind of reasonable to say that this property somewhat missed its window and therefore might not be desirable as an I-3 property because it wasn't developed at the same time as some of those other properties. And then some road network impacts. So this lot is anticipated to be used for outdoor storage and employee parking, which is expected to have minimal impacts on traffic. As mentioned, the CDOT intersection improvement project may impact this property, but the final design has not been confirmed by CDOT yet. Here's some current conditions. So you can see the image on the top there. It's facing from 60th Avenue to the south. And then the image on the bottom, image 2, is facing west from the Arby's kind of access drive towards the property. Looking at the comprehensive plan, so within the character areas map, this property is in the 270 Industrial District, which talks about this being the city's heavy intensity industrial area, and that it also talks about development should transition to nearby commercial areas. So the I-2 zoning is providing for that transition from I-3 to C3. The economic development framework map, as mentioned by the applicant, it's within the 270 industrial area, which allows for the industrial development of the property. And one of the recommendations of that section is that any development within this area should provide sufficient screening and buffering from lower intensity uses. So the development plan will help accomplish that through the screening and the fence there. On the US 85 corridor plan, it's that little red box you see, kind of a pinkish color. This is called out as community commercial. So community commercial is identified as allowing a mix of industrial or local commercial uses. And then it talks about wanting to have commercial developments in high visibility locations. Obviously, this corridor plan extends all the way up to where US 85 meets with I-76, so this is just a snippet of it. And there's properties more adjacent to US 85 that have the same designation as community commercial. Some of the goals and objectives of the comprehensive plan, these are the same ones from your staff report. I will highlight a couple here. So Commerce and Employment Goal 4.1 talks about promoting and strengthening industry and jobs in strategic areas. So as he mentioned, the applicant mentioned, they're an employer of over 175 employees, and therefore are helping to strengthen the jobs market in the core city of the city, or the core area of the city. And then public facilities and infrastructure goal 6.2 is talking about retaining revenue producing land uses. So this zone change helps keep Colorado Scaffolding and their associated LLCs in Commerce City rather than having to relocate where they could get more property. As of February 3rd, there's been no public comments on this case. Staff received, this slide's slightly out of date as I got one today, but there was 2 phone calls when I got the notice of application or public hearing asking about the CDAC project details, which I divulged what limited knowledge I have on, but we're not specifically related to the zone change. So this is the criteria from the 2009 code from section 21-3232.5. So criterion A is not applicable, so we'll jump down to criteria B1. The proposed zone district and allowable uses are consistent with the policies and goals of the comprehensive plan and any applicable adopted area plan. So as mentioned, it's in alignment with some of the maps of the comprehensive plan and some of the goals of the comprehensive plan, so this criterion is met. Criterion 2, the proposed zone district will allow uses and allowed uses are compatible with the proposed development surrounding land uses and the natural environment. So I2 would allow for the intended use of the property of outdoor storage, employee parking, and the expansion of the Colorado Scaffolding business. Additionally, I2 serves as a transition. Generally speaking, I3 zoning allows for heavy manufacturing type uses versus where I2 kind of cuts back on those and is more focused on the like outdoor storage component. So by going from I3 to I2, you're decreasing the intensity as you transition to those commercial uses, which have high traffic generators of their own. So, so that criterion 2 is met. Criterion 3, the proposed zone district will have, or future development can provide, efficient and adequate provisions of public services. So the intended development is, like mentioned, for outdoor storage, so it's not expected to need to connect to existing utilities. However, if it's ever needed, if they need to expand their building or something like that, there are existing utility lines within 60th Avenue that they can connect to. And then services like water, fire, public works, and police extend well beyond the boundaries of this property. So therefore, the criterion 3 is met. That should be criterion 4. Looks like I duplicated criterion 3. Criterion 4, the proposed zone district will have adequate provisions of public uses, but not limited to parks, schools, and open space. So within I2, there's not a minimum amount of open space that's required. So therefore, it's kind of meeting that open space requirement as it stands today. And then this type of development will be required to provide landscaping, drainage improvements, screening, surfacing for the lot. So it can be said that it will meet this criterion 4. Criterion 5, there's a community need for the zoning district and the proposed location, given the need to provide a mix of uses. So the proposed zone is consistent with the area, as mentioned, the I3 uses that are around the property. But also wanted to mention here that it is underutilized property that's been zoned C3 since the late 90s and is therefore maybe not desirable as a commercial use or commercial developer. So therefore, this type of project may help spur future development by improving an existing vacant property. So this can be said that it meets criterion 5. Criterion 6, the area for which the zone change requested has changed or is changing to such a degree that is in the public interest to allow a new use or density. So as mentioned, in 1964, the city had chosen to zone this property as I3. And so it's sort of reverting back to what the city had originally envisioned for the property by going back to industrial type zoning. The commercial zoning from the late 90s had kind of failed to spur any type of development on the property. So it's sort of in the public interest to allow the property to revert so that the property can be reused as industrial to support a growing business and generate tax dollars and employment opportunities. Some considerations for your discussion. So it is complementary to the comprehensive plan. The zone change would allow the vacant property to develop. It helps retain an employer of over 100 employees, which is sort of the benchmark that our economic and community vitality division uses to determine if they're a large employer. And then the application meets the approval criteria as mentioned, so therefore staff is recommending approval of Z25-004. Staff is available for questions.
Yeah, I'm wondering, so that construction that's going on over there on Vasquez Boulevard, is that CDOT construction stuff over there?
Yeah, so on your screen, here's the image of the last project scope that we were provided. I believe some of the elements of this might be out of date and are no longer anticipated, but the ultimate goal is, as mentioned by the applicant, was to improve this signal and the traffic flow that goes through it. So part of that is closing Parkway from being able to cross or make a left on 85 and making them only turn to go northbound. So in order to accommodate that type of traffic flow, they're expanding here, which is what you see as the current active development that's happening on. But there are some periphery pieces related to this property. You'll see here talking about potentially needing to extend a right turn lane, which will eat into some of the property. So kind of further supports potentially the development of industrial, because as you get further away from the intersection and the access gets more difficult, it may be less desirable for a commercial user to locate there.
Thanks. Yeah, someone had mentioned that the CDOT project, and it's unclear where it stands and everything. And yeah, I didn't realize there was any development happening. I just saw construction tools and things, and this kind of helped educate me on that.
Sure thing.
When you talked about the lot, you said they would be subject to development for lighting and landscaping and screening. When you say screening, do you mean a fence? Or how do you mean screening?
Correct, yeah, the standards for outdoor storage require a screen style fence, I guess is what I specified screening, meaning that it has to be made of wood or masonry or something like that to screen the view of the outdoor storage from 60th Avenue. So they wouldn't be able to install just a chain link. It would have to be something that provides a block of view to the interior of the property.
Okay, so then that answers my other question, because I was wondering how it was going to affect the commercial.
Yes.
But if they have that up, it won't really.
Correct. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
That's the idea of the screen. Yep.
I don't have a question, but I have a comment. I really appreciate that you're going to extend your property, I mean, your business over into this property and keep it in Commerce City instead of looking elsewhere for bigger property. So I appreciate that.
Thank you very much. And one thing that I felt like I was running out of time, so I didn't want to get too verbose on my presentation, but our largest competitor is a company called Safeway. And they have a branch in Commerce City. They're a $6 billion company. We have competed with them to have equal, if not equal or more market share than they have in the region now, not including Colorado, Wyoming, the Dakotas. They're based, they're everywhere. They're in Europe. They're headquartered in Atlanta. We're headquartered in Commerce City, Colorado, and that will always be the case, even as we expand. So thank you.
No, Chair.
Thank you. I think you guys know that this is an important area to me, the southern part of Commerce City. It's where I live. And although I would really hate to lose community commercial, we've had 50 years for someone to step up and use this site. I don't see it a very good commercial fit, if you want to know the truth. And I know that's probably going against what most people here would expect me to say, but it's obviously been available for a long time. I would hate to see the applicant have to leave and find more space somewhere else. And I don't like to see unused property also. That being said, I would also like to say we are moving in a direction where we're losing commercial and residential in the southern part of our city for industrial in large numbers, where just 10 blocks south of here, a brand new 20,000 square foot sit-down restaurant and bar opened in an industrial building just outside of Commerce City's boundary, 33,000 square foot of patio and 12 pickleball courts. But I don't see that happening in this site. I'd like to see it in Commerce City. I'd like to see it in our industrial areas, and this is not the right site for that. So I'm going to be supporting this. I'll just, lay it out on the line. It's not a relevant site for commercial.
No, I agree with both of your comments. So I would support it.
I'll go ahead and take that motion. I move that the Planning Commission enter a finding that the requested I-2 Medium Intensity Industrial Zoning District for the property located at 4850 East 60th Avenue, contained in case Z25-0004, meets the criteria of the Land Development Code, and based upon such finding, recommend approval of the I-2 Medium Intensity Industrial Zoning.
Second?
Second, oh.
Well, congratulations, Chair Biltoff. You'll be highly missed. You've been a great chair, and we've really enjoyed working with you. And at the next meeting, we'll have to nominate a new chair. Oh, before we nominate a chair. Okay. 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 And we do have 3 alternates. Okay. Thanks for that tip.
That's not the bylaws. We haven't, I'm not sure what that is. We haven't prepared a draft of the new bylaws yet.
Yeah, sorry, that's an error.
I think we're still working, so as some of you know, the city council addressed some changes they wanted to see in the way that boards and commissions are running. And then with our city clerk's office, I've also been working with them to make sure that all the boards and commissions are uniformly applying procedures and things like that. So we're kind of working through some of those changes, trying to help reflect them in the script so that everyone understands what the expectations are. But as a part of that, the city council does want you all to start doing a motion on absences. If anyone is absent, they want a motion on whether that is excused or not. I think basically they're asking if the person gave you notice and stuff like that. I don't think they're asking you to decide if a doctor's appointment is excused or not, but they're asking, did the person communicate to the chair that they wouldn't be present, and kind of based on the person's continued behavior, does the commission feel that that absence is excused or not? Because council wants to start looking at those records and wanting to consider everyone's attendance and whether or not they maybe need to change the rosters on certain boards and commissions. So that's something that we've put in the script, if there is an absence, for the chair to address that and make that motion. And we're also going to ask that when any commission members are going to be absent, that they CC the chair in that communication. I know you're letting the liaisons know, but we're also going to ask you to CC the chair. Obviously, who that person is currently in flux, but whoever that person is at the time will be asking you to CC the chair. And if you don't know who that is, then just let the liaison know you're not sure in this interim who to send that communication to. But that's a new procedure we're trying to implement with everybody. Does that make sense? And then we're also still in the process of reviewing the bylaws to update them and not making any substantial changes, mostly just updating them to reflect that we're using Bob's rules and to reflect some of those changes that City Council made last year for boards and commissions in general. I would say we just did last week the training for boards and commissions, as I would hope you are all at least aware of. And that I think we're supposed to be recording the main one. If anyone wants to go back and watch it, that should be available. You can contact the liaisons and they can get you in touch with the city clerk's office for any of those materials that the city clerk's office prepared. And there's also a link to a Bob's Rules training that they can provide you as well if that's something that interests you.
Thank you, Chair. Just wanted to let the Planning Commission know that we've scheduled a joint Planning Commission City Council study session for April 27th. And that'll be a Monday night, the fourth Monday of the month. That is intended to be a discussion and update on the legislative zoning. So if you recall, we came to the commission and gave you an introduction to the legislative zoning. We're going to do the same thing for City Council on February 9th on Monday night. But then as we're starting to move forward with the legislative zoning, we want to have a series of joint study sessions. And it's much easier to do it joint with both Planning Commission and Council. So the first one would be April 27th. And I know that the commission has talked about wanting some FaceTime with the new council to get to know them and to understand what their priorities are. So we wanted to throw it out as an option because you'd already be there that night if you would like to use that April 27th date as an opportunity to talk about, work planning for the commission and the council's objectives for your work. Well, it was your idea, Chair, but
I think it's a great idea. Definitely think that's a good idea. And thank you so much, Commissioner Biltoff. Congratulations.